Hi everyone, this is Mario from the BME studio, and we're here today. We're going to review the project that we did in Dr. Erdy's class last week. Okay, we're going to start off. Remember, we're using Creo Parametric. We're going to click on that to open it up. Okay, that'll the little wheel will turn there and it comes up. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to shut off all of their advertising and come over to the file section, which is part of home. Okay, we're going to hit new, select the part, okay, and make sure that solid is selected, and we're going to call this dog bone. Okay, hit OK, and what happens is our 3D space definition comes up, and that is the three planes, which is the top, the right, the front, the top, and the right, and that the intersection of them all gives us the origin, which is 0, 0, 0. Okay. Now, you saw me make a mistake, and to avoid that, what we need to do is we need to go to View, okay, and come over here, and you see this little thing where we're able to show and hide certain things. Okay, and one of the things that's missing from here are the names of the planes, which is why I made that mistake, of course. So we select the label, and you notice that now the front view is labeled, the top view is labeled, and the right view is labeled. Okay, everyone should be able to do this by now. What we're going to do is we're going to be working on the front plane. Okay, so that means that on this we'll be drawing our sketch here, and it's always easier to look at something head on, as if you're drawing on a piece of paper, than looking at it in a isometric or perspective view. So what we want to do is go to Save Orientations and click on Front, and as you notice, it'll give us our front plane. It'll show us our x-axis, our y-axis, and our z-axis is coming towards us or heading away from us. Okay? To start a sketch, what we need to do is go over to Model and select the front plane, which is highlighted already, and then select Sketch. Okay? And what that does is it tells it that, hey, we want to draw on the front plane. Okay? So it puts a piece of paper there for us to design on. And remember, you can draw on planes and flat surfaces. Okay, those are the only two things that are allowed. Now, what we're going to do, since we're in our sketch, we're going to start off by going to the rectangle command. By looking at the rectangle command, you see this little arrow. When you click on it, it'll show you different options that you have. We want to select corner rectangle. And you know that you're on a corner rectangle by the little two dots that are diagonally opposed to each other on the rectangle logo. Okay, and what we want to do, we want to come here and then come with your the left mouse button depressed, come down and hit the center line. And as you can tell, what happens when you do that, you get a little circle. That means you're locked in onto the center line. Okay, you click again, and release the button, and that'll put your square there. All right, you can have fun by drawing extra squares or whatever, but we're going to be working with this one. So what you should do here, let me get rid of these, is we have a rectangle, okay, that's 179.98 or 160.66. Now, we don't care because these numbers aren't that important to us. So what we want to, other than changing them, so what we want to do is we want to make this 20. Okay, now what we can do is to locate this, we can do the math on our head. 20 divided by 2 is 10. Or if it's a complex number, maybe like 52.449, and you have to divide that in half to locate it, or you can just have Creo do the math for you. And what you would do, you would type in 20 divided by 2, and that will automatically center that on you. Okay? The other thing we want to do is change this height and make that, I'm sorry, 25. Now, what we need to do is zoom in on here. And while we, let's review the zoom command while we have here. Up in this bar, we have this symbol, which means refit. Essentially what it does, it zooms to the extents of your part drawing. So if we click on that, you notice the part will get bigger on the screen. Okay, the dimensions stay the same. It's just that the parts are cleaner. Okay, if we want to zoom in on the corner of the object, we can come in and use the little plus key, and that'll zoom in as much as we need to, given to a certain point. Now, when it does that, you notice that the arrow didn't change much, but it really it keeps the arrow sizes constant. So if you zoom, the more you zoom in, you're not gonna be zooming in on the arrow. You're gonna be zooming in on the corner. And then you have the zoom out command, which is the magnifying glass with the minus, and as you can tell, it's zooming out a little bit by little. The other way you can zoom in and out is if you scroll with your mouse key without depressing it. You can zoom in and out. All right. A good thing to know, we just scrolled in and out with the mouse key. If you depress the mouse key and then move the mouse, you can rotate your view into something that you want to work with. Okay, but for now, let's go back and take a look at the front view, okay, because it's always easier to draw on the projection. All right, what we want to do is go back to Sketch, and we're going to create a circle, and we're going to come down. Now, again, with circle, just to review, you have different options here by clicking on and holding the arrow. Okay, when the arrow points down, it means that there's more. We want the center point. Okay, so that symbol is a circle with a dot in the center and the another dot on the radius. Okay, so we want to hover down over the origin. Okay, remember X, Y, and Z where they intersect, that's the origin. And you'll notice as we move the mouse and we get close to that location, it's going to snap to that location. And what it does, it puts a square there and it turns it blue. Okay, so we're going to press that. Okay, and then move our mouse down to where we're tangent with the other side. Okay, so now what happens is we have a circle that is tangent here and here. Okay, because we had centered the rectangle. Now the next thing we're going to do is Creo likes perfectly closed sketches. Okay, what that means is you cannot have a sketch intersecting another sketch. Okay, so if you have this circle portion, it cannot intersect with the rectangle. Okay, because it gets confused, and it doesn't like it when it's confused. So we're going to come up to here and we're going to hit delete segment, and by using delete segment, okay, you're going to hit the top two quadrants of the circle. Now, when you delete a segment with the X and Y, it treats the X and Y axes as lines. Okay, so what it'll do is when you click on delete segment, it'll just take anything out between geometry. So for example, it won't take out this whole line, it'll only take out half the line, such as that. Okay, and if you come back and hit dimension again, you'll notice that you have a pink object, which is our square. I'm sorry, which is our shape, our kind of like a closed off U shape. All right, and this is what we'll be using for our model. I'm going to hit OK. Okay, so now, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as you click on those parts to get rid of them using the delete segment command, you're going to see when you have an enclosed object that is properly defined, it will turn pink. And once you have that, we're going to hit OK. All right. Now, one of the things that we're in the front view, but we want to extrude this, so we're not quite sure which way we want to extrude or anything. So we wanted to get it to look at this on either on an isometric or at some kind of angle. You can do this a couple of ways. The first way is by pressing down on the center mouse button and keeping that pressed down and hit and just move the mouse around. And you'll notice that we can rotate the planes and the object sketch in any direction we want. Okay. Another way to do it is to, if you're not using the mouse, is to go to View. Okay, Saved Orientations, and we want to select Default Orientation, and that'll give us send us back to the first view that we had. So now, by doing this, let's go this way, and we want to create that sketch into a model. If you notice now, our sketch is over here and it's highlighted, saying that it's active. So we want to go to Model, and what we want to do is an extrusion. Okay, a couple of things on the extrusion. We want to make sure that, first off, that the extruded solid button is selected. You could see if we select make it a surface, what happens. The middle is empty and it's just going to extrude out the 1, 2, 3, 4 surfaces. Okay, so we want to keep that as solid. All right, now we're going to extrude this, and you're going to have to check what the drawings that you picked up were. We're going to extrude this, let's say, 120 millimeters. Okay, and to do that, we're going to type in 120. Okay, now this button here will tell us whether we want to extrude it to the right or to the left. Okay, and as you can tell there, that's extruding it to the right in this into this direction, the minus X direction, or by hitting the button, it'll extrude it into the positive X direction. The positive Z direction. And the other one was the minus Z direction. Okay, we don't want to do that. We want to extrude it from the sketch plane, which is our front plane. We want to make half of it come onto the positive Z and half go onto the positive Y. So what we're going to do here is to select from this pull-down menu. Okay, you will have a number of options. Okay, this is what we refer to as a blind extrusion. That's where we just give it a number and direction. Okay, again, number and direction. What do you know that from? You know that from physics, a vector. All right, it has magnitude and direction. All right. This is what we want to use here. Essentially, is what they call the mid-plane. So if we select that, if you notice, our front plane is here, but half of it, the 120, is going to the right, and half is going to the left. Okay, so we're going to say, hey, that looks pretty good, and we're going to select check to finish up that command. All right. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, your first feature, which is an extrusion, and this 90% of the work you'll be doing here is you'll be using extrusions, okay, on this project. Now, the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to collect the ends of either if you want to call it a dumbbell or a dog bone or whatever, but we want to create another sketch which is going to give us that portion. So we want to select the end feature, okay, the end of the feature, that surface there, and we're going to go back to sketch to tell it we're going to use that surface. All right. One of the things we want to do is to actually go back and select that surface. and we're going to say view normal, okay? And what that does is the surface that we selected, it's going to take that, and we told it, rather than giving me the front view or the left view, because I'm not sure, there are going to be instances where you're coming off at 45 degrees or whatever, so you want to see what that plane looks like. Just say you want to look normal to that plane, and in this case it gives us the same as the saved front view. All right, now we're going to go back to sketch, which is highlighted. All right, we're going to pick our 2-point rectangle, and again we're doing this the same way, but now it's a little bit easier because we have this surface, we have a center and everything else. So what we're going to do is we're going to come off a little bit, we're going to select that point, that top line, so it's highlighted, and come there, and then come here. All right, and draw that rectangle in. So we're going from on top of the line, which is highlighted, okay, and we're coming down to the center line. All right, so we're going to zoom in, and hey, wait a second, we're not really on that, so we're going to hit escape, okay, and what we're going to do is to take this line, select that, okay, go to coincident, and select the top line, and reselect this, okay, and now we told it, okay, that top line is supposed to be coincident with the top surface, or that top edge. All right, and that gives us what we have here. Now, I think, I don't recall the numbers that we had on here, but what you're going to see is that we don't need a number to be vertical, okay? It's telling us that the sketch is closed, okay? But we want to come here and zoom in. Okay, you might want to hit dimension first, okay? And then click on the dimension. And we want to make that, and just to pick a number, we're going to make that 40. Okay? Now, so the other thing we want to do is to come down here, and you notice there's another dimension that's going to be from the center line to that edge. And it doesn't really, you really have to hover over it for it to line up. You double click on it, and we want to make sure that the rectangle is centered on the vertical center line. So there's two ways of doing it. In your head you can do the math, which is 20, but a lot of times you might have like an oddball number. So what you can do is you can have Creo do the math for you. You can type in 40 divided by 2. Okay, and that makes it 20. So now if we zoom out, we can see that the rectangle is located on the, essentially to that first extrusion. And then we just do the same thing. We go back to circle, we're going to select the center of the circle, and we're going to come out to this end. All right, now because the rectangle is central, we don't have to make it coincident, because it'll already be coincident to the circle. So we're going to hit delete segment, again, review what you just did before. Okay, and if we can tell right there that our sketch is completely closed. Okay, we're not getting any error messages or anything. I'm going to select check, okay, and just to check it again, if we go to, if we wanted to change something, we can go to sketch and then hit this button here, which is the sphere with the pencil, which means edit definition of the sketch, okay, and it'll show us that the sketch is closed. Now, let's say we wanted to make this 35, okay, if we can double click on it, make it 35, okay, and then this number also has to change, remember, because that's going to tell us how central we are. So we're going to go to 35, divide that by 2, okay, and that puts us the sketch right on the center line, okay. the center of the circle and everything's, you know, hunky-dory. So now what we're going to do is from there, we're going to extrude this out in the positive Z direction. Okay, so we're going to tell it, okay, we're good with the sketch, right? It's selected, so we can, that's what we're going to be using to make our feature. We're going to do another extrude, okay? And it's defaulting to 32. Let's make it 24. Okay, and we're going to hit the arrow key to tell it we've accepted that. Now, if you, what you see here is that the part has been extruded. Okay, and now if I press down on my middle mouse button, I can turn it and take a look at what's going on. Hey, that's pretty cool. You know, Mario must know what he's talking about, which I don't. But we want to, now what we're going to do is we want to do the same thing on the other side. Now we can go through all the drudgery and all that. We also have to put a radius in here, so we're going to have, you know, 2 more features we have to create, or we can do a shortcut. First, we get all the geometry that we want here on this side complete. So, and remember what I said in class, there are 2 kind of features, the sketched feature and what they call an engineering feature. So by selecting this edge, okay, and if we turn it, okay, we're going to press the control button, select this edge and that edge, okay? Yep. Likewise, we're going to select that edge, and this edge. Okay, so what we want to do is put a round on here. Now, rounds are what they call, they're exactly what it's called. It puts a round corner on that edge, so it's not sharp, you can't hurt yourself. So we want to make that corner 6 millimeters. So we press 6 and take a look at it. Okay, now these are whether you're going to let it make the transition for you. Since we didn't have a corner over here, it was having a hard time with it. So we selected switch to transition mode, which it thinks for you. And then what we do is we hit the check mark. Okay, so now we have the radius going around both surfaces, and that's called a round. Okay, now last thing we want to do is we want to create a hole on this surface. So we're going to select the surface to select it, select sketch, okay, go to view. Now since we have the sketch selected and nothing else is, if we go to view normal, all right, it'll automatically give us the flat here. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to go to sketch. Okay, we're still in sketch mode. We want to draw a circle that's going to be 6 millimeters. Go to dimension, select the diameter of the circle. Again, you might have to zoom in and look for it. You might have to, okay, for some reason I always have to come back and then hit. And let's make that 6 millimeters. Okay, and also the dimension from the center line up, let's make that 8 millimeters. I'm sorry, let's make that 12 millimeters. Let's see what that looks like. A little bit, too little. Let's make that 15 millimeters. Okay, that seems about right. And as far as from the center, let's go, let's make that 100 just to keep it an even number. And again, you're going to be referring to your the drawings that you had, which you picked up in class. Okay. Now we're going to select check. Okay. And what we're going to do, just to rotate that a little bit, and we have our sketch here. And we're going to go to model. Okay. Make sure we have our sketch selected, hit extrude. Okay, and what you see here, it has a boss, okay, or an extrusion that's projected 38.54 millimeters from the surface. Okay, first thing we want to do, we want to go through the other direction. Okay, and one of the things that, just to show you what happened there, okay, is that the, let's go back, edit the definition. When we flip the direction key, it'll send this moving this way. However, you notice that it's a projectional, so what we want to do is make that a hole. So, excuse me. So if you notice this here, if we click on that, what that's going to do is make that a hole. So it's like a block with a slice going through in it. And that means cut. Okay, so that's going to give us our definition of the feature. We're going to select. Okay, now we got half of it done. It took about, maybe 10 minutes to do that if I didn't have to explain it. And it's a lot of work just for doing that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these features, the hole, the round, and the sketched extrusion, and we're going to mirror them around the center line. Remember what I said in class, it's always good practice to start your point at the origin, which is 0, 0, which is the 0, 0, 0, which is the intersection of the three planes. So Creo has a feature here under model that's called a mirror feature. Okay, so if we select mirror, okay, it's asking us to select the mirror plane, which we're going to tell it it's front. Okay, now it's going to, if we go to references, it's going to, we have features here that we can use. So if we select what we're going to do, if you right click on that, you can remove that. Okay, and we're going to, again, hitting the control key, hit extrude, the round, and extrude 3 which is our hole. Okay, and then we press and check. All right, so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, something representative of what you're going to do to make your part work. All right, if you have any questions, you can call me 973-207-4372 or stop by room 680. If I'm free, I'll help you then and there. If not, when you call, I can make we'll make an appointment and I can stay late for you. Or, I'm usually here at 7, so you can stop by then. Okay. I hope this works for you. Good luck, and let me know if you need any more help. Thank you.